So if anyone is watching, we are waiting another commission member so that we can reach quorum.
I left messages for two of them. For Chris, he's unavailable right now. So it's hard to say. I'm hoping Kyle or Doug will join us. I'll try to shoot Susan an email. Hey, Kyle, it's Mike. Hey, Kyle's joining us, so we'll have quorum. Just give it a minute. Hey, Kyle, are you there? Okay, Lisa, do we have quorum now, or? Huh?
She's muted.
Oh,
If we can hear from Kyle, yes.
Kyle?
It's me, it's Kyle, I'm here.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so can we bring this meeting to order?
Yeah,
Let's take roll call. Commissioner Fuchs? You're muted.
I'm here.
Okay, Commissioner Moorhead?
Present.
Commissioner Tarbett?
Present.
All right, let's go ahead and approve our agenda and for October 11 and also our minutes from September 20th. Do we have a motion for the consent agenda?
Motion to approve the agenda and the meeting minutes from the 20th.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
All approved, say aye.
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 All right, let's move on.
hey, we don't have anything that's an action item this meeting, but a lot of reports to go through. This first one is probably the most important because this will come to you all for an advisory recommendation vote next meeting. So this is the capital facility plan. This is a lot like it's been done in past years. So you have the summary document, which basically has the spreadsheet, the cost of the projects, and then just goes what year, what it is, and then where it's being funded out of. And it's broken out by department and green means,
Mike,
yeah.
Can we get everybody to mute? I'm getting a ton of feedback.
Oh,
Thanks.
okay. So green means it's budget. Orange means it's not budget. It's for future planning. And it goes over the next 6 years. And then if you go into the rendition booklet, the booklet that actually goes over the projects in greater depth, so you could see maps and pictures of essentially where they're all at. So I will I'll just provide a very brief overview of all of this. If you go to page 13. Okay, so page 13 provides a summary of what's estimated we'll spend next year. As you can see, the lion's share is in parks at 3.2 million, and then water at 4.9, wastewater at 2.7, and then streets around 2.7. And then going to page 15. You'll see that in this case, the 6-year outlay estimate is around $86 million. And you'll see that on this slide 15, that really what pays for most of our projects is really grants. We do make enough funds here locally for a match, but if we did not get the grants, we would be dead in the water because we do not have the funding mechanisms locally to pay for this broad expanse without all the grant writing that we all do. Going to page 16. That just goes over what the prioritization is, and that ties back to that spreadsheet we went over. So high means it needs to happen regardless. It could be driven by state rulemaking or mandates. Medium means it needs to happen some point, but it's not an immediate concern. And low means it won't happen unless we get a grant or some other random revenue stream. Page 17. That's a graphical representation of where all the projects are at. And for brevity tonight, I'll just go over the ones in the next year. The other ones you could look at on your own time. So going to page 19. 19 is City Hall. So the key thing we're going to be working on the remainder of this year and next year is getting in appropriate AV system and so forth for council chambers, because as it stands right now, that's a large reason why we can't have the in-person meetings, because we do not have the appropriate setup and system to do everything that's in the state rules. So we should be awarding that project hopefully within like the next month here, and then we'll see how long it takes, but that's what's been holding us up. And you can see a lot of other upgrades in the subsequent years for City Hall. Going to page 20 is fire department. So fire department will be renovating the east staircase. We're chipping in with the city and District 4 on a fire training tower. The city of Walla Walla just let that out the previous week, so that's actually happening. And then renovating the dorm rooms in the fire department, because as you all may or may not know, how we're able to keep the lights on at the fire department, a lot of it is student and volunteer labor. We do not have the full-time capacity of in and of our own accord to run the fire. So it's a lot of it is volunteer and student run. And then water and source heat pump replacement. Page 21 is the police department. Big thing there is to get a roof replacement on the gun range building. That was actually a mobile building that we were able to get from Walla Walla School District. They were decommissioning it and we moved it over there and we just have to rehab it. But overall, it saved quite a bit of money, and that's out the treatment plant property. And then we also have to get a replacement heater, chiller. We replaced one of them 2 years ago. The other one now is aged out and it needs to be replaced. So that's in police. Then going on page 22, this is where we get into infrastructure. So first element is parks. Going to page 24 is, I'm sure you can imagine, because we've been saying this for the past couple of years and it's coming to fruition, Lions Park. This will be a year we're turning dirt for that. So the REIT 2 money, we've been banking that away for all these years for the local match on that. And we're going to put it into practice next year. So the cost on that's 3.3 million. We've gotten about 1.3 million in state grant money. We have 500,000 in Sherwood Trust. There's a lot of money coming from a variety of sources to bankroll this thing, but it deals with putting in a splash pad, dredging the pond and separating it from the creek, converting the softball field to a multi-purpose field, and then a playground, inclusive playground and restrooms. And you can see the breakout of how we're paying for it below in the how we pay for it box. Page 25 is something that's going to occur only if we get a grant. There is a federal EDA grant right now that pays for things that could create tourism, and it's from the American Rescue Plan money. So we are scrambling. It's actually due this week, turning in a grant for roughly $2.9 million to replace the current community center. It's there because the current one doesn't have a commercial kitchen. The meeting room doesn't really meet requirements for a lot of meetings that would go there if we had appropriately scaled facilities. So as such, this grant we're filing, if we get awarded that, we would demo and rebuild that community center building and make it much more of the park. It'd be more of like a glass type building. So that's Lions Park. That's between both of them, quite a heavy lift. So those are the park projects. Now going to page 31. This goes in a full corridor project. So corridor projects means not only are we rebuilding the road, but we're replacing infrastructure underneath it. So that's what's meant by full corridor versus utility projects. So one of the biggest heavy lifts is Majanier Road. We got some MPO money, Metropolitan Planning Organization money, to pay for the engineering. That'll take place next year. And then construction, we ended up getting some federal highway bill grant money for that. So that would take place in 2023. You can see a price tag on that is about $4.8 million. So that would entail rebuilding the road from College Avenue to Blueview Lane to have, the 12-foot traffic lanes, bike lanes, sidewalk, what a regular urban road would look like, and also put utilities underneath it. Page 32 goes into a neighborhood road. We're going to try to attack with some ARPA money and then storm grant and storm utility money, which is Birch. I'm sure many of you are aware of this, but Birch from 4th to 6th is completely shot. Needs to be redone, put a sidewalk on one side, and then there's also some overflow work from the water tower that's going to impact it. So the idea is to do engineering next year and then construction the following year. The totality of that project, though, is about $460,000. And then we're going to be writing grants for the next one. This will go into the following year, but that 12th college at large, we're aggressively going after state and federal money. And this will entail rebuilding 12 from college at large, putting in pedestrian street lights, make it a nice street. So that's 4.3 million, but that would likely take place in 2023. And then the other projects in this full corridor list are for subsequent years based on availability of grant funds. Going to page 41. Now we'll get to storm. So the big projects we're doing next year is outfalls. So this will be like a every other year project. So as part of our storm utility, we have to put filters on our outfalls as they drain into the creeks. That's a state order, the requirement. So as you can see here, the concept is every other year we pay 50% through the utility. The ecology, we get a grant from them for the other 50%. And stormwater utility is a great example about how if we weren't able to get grant funds, it would cost a lot more. So luckily we make enough funds here for a local match, but in order to make these projects come alive, it really is dependent upon successfully getting the grants. Page 42 is a relatively newer one. So as you may recall, in past years, we were deeply concerned that we were going to have to put a detention basin out at the treatment plant to deal with stormwater near College Avenue because not a lot of the roads near there had storm in it. Luckily, we did a study. It was funded by Community Development Block Grant. And it found that luckily the ground conditions are as such where we can actually put dry wells in. So dry wells are about roughly 80,000 every other year. So 240,000 outlay in the next 6 years. That looks like a lot, but let's put in perspective. If we did not go this route, or let's say the ground wasn't such where we couldn't do dry wells, to do a detention basin for College Place would have cost us about $6 million. So, so we're actually saving a lot of money going this way. And luckily, that study found that we could do this. Page 43 is an important one. So storm DECANT facility. We're going to do engineering next year, construction the following year. This amounts to 1.6 million. It's really a requirement now for city storm utilities where when you clean streets with a street sweeper, you're supposed to put it into this machine that essentially separates and treats storm water from whatever's picked up by your street sweeper. Right now, we don't have the appropriate equipment to do this because, again, the storm utility is a relatively new thing. Prior to 2019, which is when we were ordered to do this by the state, we didn't really have to deal with stormwater. So now we're having to play a ton of catch up. As you can see here, majority of this is financed by a grant. So again, if we weren't good with our grant writing skills, we would have problems paying for this. So that's the storm projects for next year. Going into street projects, page 46, we have our chip seal. That's the rocky coating put on the road that keeps the life of the road for another 10 years. That's paid for with our REIT 1 money. The REIT 2 pays for parks like Lions Park, but REIT 1 does road stuff. So chip seal, the concept next year is to deal with Harvest Meadows. So that's around the Newgate Scenic View area, Nap Edition, which is Constitution, Justice, Liberty, all those roads off of Tomarson, and then Bliss Lane. And then you can see the list for subsequent years, and that's through REIT. Page 47 deals, this is a newer program we created about 2 years ago because I was noticing patterns where every year it was getting to a point where we were having to repave a block of road. So we basically made a program so that way we could program it out every year. So this pays for 1 block of resurfacing roadway per year. So the concept next year is to resurface Southeast 6th from College a day. That's going to be synonymous with a water main replacement underneath it at the same time. So we'll replace the main and then resurface the road. And this expense hovers between 30 and 35,000 annually. And you can see for the next 6 years, it's programmed out, and that's based on street ratings that we got from when a contractor drove and rated our streets as to condition. Page 48 is for bikes. That's going to happen next year. This is a demonstration project for Blue Zones. We end up getting a state grant for most of this. This will include extending the cycle track down 4th from Davis to College, and then putting in pedestrian street lamps like College Avenue, but not of the same distance. It'll be double a distance, but new street lamps, and it'll just make for a very nice corridor. Cost on that's about $600,000. Page 49. Central College Place Sidewalk Project, as you all know, 2 years ago, we were successful at getting a CDBG grant to go build sidewalks down Davis from 3rd to Whitman, Bay from 5th to the 6th, 7th to 10th, and 12th from Bay to College. We were successful again at getting another CDBG grant. So we ended up getting about $364,000 to build sidewalks on Southwest 6th from College to Davis and Southwest 8th from Bay to College. So that will be happening next year. And then we'll continue to knock out corridors within the qualifying census block groups year by year as we put in for state awards. Page 50, College Place Broadband Project. I've mentioned this anecdotally at past meetings. This is the totality of the cost to go do fiber to home across the city. We are pursuing any and all grants out of this American Rescue Plan to make this a reality. So it'll be some sort of combination between Economic Development Administration, the NTIA out of the feds, Community Economic Revitalization Boards, Public Works Trust Fund. It's going to be some sort of combo, but it'll work itself out. And I believe at the end, likely it'll be some sort of 5% local match. So that's the key one. I would say some other ones we're working on, but I don't know if they'll come to life. It'll be depending on if we get grant monies. Page 51, Post Office Crosswalk. Since we are getting a local road safety plan now, we'll qualify for this. So I think we'll be in a good position to make this happen, but it'll be dependent upon funds. And then page 52 is a parking lot for downtown. Somewhere along College Avenue. And again, I'm waiting to hear, we've filed multiple grants on this one, but that's going to be a grant-driven project. And those are key ones in the street bucket for next year. So then the next would be going into wastewater. So if you go to page 63. So page 63 is a big one. We're starting next year on that wastewater treatment plan improvement. We are desperately trying to get any and all grant monies for this because it has an extreme price tag to it. And we have no choice but to do it because this is state ordered to keep our permit, our system permit. But phase 1 of the treatment plan improvements boils down to about $25 million. So it's a lot of money. We've been putting in for USDA grants. We're continuing on that trajectory. I put in for a federal infrastructure bill request of $15 million. If the federal government ever votes on that bill, I'm hoping they'll be included into that, but that request is there. I'm also working on another one through the Economic Development Administration. So we're doing a lot to try to finance this thing, but this is a very heavy lift. And we don't really have a choice but to do it because we're being ordered to do it. So when you've seen random emails come from me as far as letters of support and things like that, this is the project because we're being forced to do it. Page 64 deals with another project. This one just sprung up on us. Former Public Works Director, retired, let me know about this. And we ended up getting Public Works Trust Fund money to finance this. But we have a lift station that's like in this coffee can-like contraption on Southwest 1st Street. And first of all, as you can see, it's a tripping hazard in the middle of a sidewalk. But then secondly, it has no backup generation and not enough space for staff to work. So the concept is to move it across the street actually put an emergency backup generator on it, because right now if that thing failed, I mean, you'd have some time, but if we were out for an extended period of time, you'd run a risk of sewage backups in that Southwest First area as well as the university. So that's not a good area to be having that occur at. So the concept is we're going to do engineering next year and go quickly into construction on that. Page 65. You've heard about this over the past couple of years, but we're doing some different. This is sewer lining. So this is where you cook a pipe of polyurethane inside the old failing pipe, and then you essentially inflate it, cook it in place, and then cut in where the old connections were and use it. We were doing this every year, but what we found is that there's so few contractors that do this sort of work. When you only have a narrow pot of money, they're not interested in coming out here. So we really need to amass funds so that way we have a more substantial pot every 2 years, and then we'll get the bidders that come in. So we're going to do this every other year now, but it'll be slated for next year, 300,000 worth of work, and then every other year from that point forward. Now next, going to page 68, going into the water system. We got a lot of stuff going on there. So well number 6, you've heard me talk about this for years now. We have the hole in the ground. We have the bid out to build the well house. We are going to award it pretty soon here at the end of the month, and I would suspect that this project will be complete by next spring and we'll finally have a third well up and going. But keep in mind, that only gets us to where we were at like 5 years ago before we had the 2 well failures. So we've had population growth since that time, but not really extra holes in the ground. So we still definitely have a capacity issue. But you'll see how we're dealing with that in 2 slides out. Page 69 is a water main replacement. This was going to happen this last year, but the bidding environment ended up way out of whack and it came in way over engineers' estimate. So now we've allocated some of the ARPA funds we got from the federal government to cover the gap. So this will happen going into next spring, moving the water line from back of yard and alleys up to the front of homes, so it's easier to access and it works better. Page 70, water main replacement. I touched on this for the paving project. We have a decayed water line that's starting to fail underneath 6. So this will entail replacing that, and then we'll put the new pavement on top of it. And then page 71 gets to what I was mentioning about how we need another hole in the ground. So we did get some Public Works Trust Fund money to begin the engineering and put another hole in the ground, because again, we've had increased population, but not increased wells. And a lot of the cities our size have way more than just 3 wells. So even as is, we were shortchanging ourselves. The concept is to put it out on Teal Road. That way they're all in different areas of town. So if we ever have geological shifts in the future, we won't get caught like we were the last time. In Public Works Trust Funds helping us finance the engineering piece. And then page 72, that one deals with water towers. So as you probably all saw, when we had our water snafu a couple of weeks ago due to that power outage, we do not have enough water capacity as far as water storage for when stuff goes awry. Your typical city typically has around 48 hours worth of water storage. In our case, as you saw that one weekend, when the generator didn't kick on, we basically were at around 18 hours. So we need to dramatically up our pace there. So we end up getting the trust fund money to do engineering. We wanted to put in about 1 million gallon water tank out on the bluff at the treatment plant because with the elevation change out there, we could basically gravity flow water north toward Homestead and Martin Airfield and stuff along Whitman, or south along the Majanier College corridor. So really important. And then there's other projects going on into the future years, but that comprises the capital facility plan. The idea is that I run this through key advisory bodies the months of October and November. This will go for an advisory vote of this body next month. So is there any questions or comments?
Well, I will say I am very impressed. That is a large amount of projects, and I'm very impressed with the city's ability to do these grants and to write these grants and get so much of this funded. That just says a lot for our city administrator and for your staff there.
Thanks.
Any other questions from any of our board members? Okay. Let's see, Lisa, did you share your screen with me? There we go. So let's move on to the draft for the fiscal year 2022 state and federal legislative agenda. Mr. Rizzatello?
Okay, thank you. So as you all may recall, every year the city council, they adopt a legislative agenda, because a key part to getting these grants, especially on the state level, is we have to indicate our priorities to our state officials. It has to be on a one-page document. Otherwise, they don't read it. So as you can see here, this is where we're at as a draft. This is likely going to go to council for approval in November. So again, this will go to for an advisory vote next month. So be prepared for that. As you can see, the priorities are ones I went over: the treatment plant, the water system, the camp facility, 12. Those are key ones. Key issues is keeping the grant programs, because we don't have and then also just getting the state to continue to kick in for broadband and to get the transportation package done, because they were supposed to vote on a transportation package last year and they left Olympia without dealing with it. So that needs to happen. And then also the multifamily property tax exemption. Right now it's very uneven. The city of Walla Walla can do deals with that all day long. And the way the current ruling is, when you're in counties below a threshold of 100,000, if you are in a county seat or you are in a city with a population of at least 20,000, you're toast. So they can do deals like that Evergreen apartment complex by Safeway. That's being paid for in a large part by that exemption. And we're stuck where we can't do anything, but yet they can. That's not fair. And then finishing up Highway 12 Phase 8 is a key one too. General Government Growth Management Act, retooling that so we're able to fix the UGA issue in responsible situations. So putting us more of an even footing with the county. You've heard me pontificate over this issue over the past several months, so I don't really need to go deeper into that. Key thing, maintain the local control against unfunded mandates. That's fairly straightforward. And then public safety wise, again, clarification for the use of force. That crime police bill that passed, they threw a lot of stuff into it in the dead of night, and then people are only starting to figure out what was actually in it. So that needs to be fumigated, and I would say they need to figure that out next year. And then also reiterating about needing to retain local control over law enforcement. There's starting to be this behavior as of late about trying to, I would almost say, centralize everything, but yet they aren't paying for it, but yet they want everything centralized, and that it shouldn't be how that is. Also increasing funding for the law enforcement academy. A lot of the officers are retiring or going to other agencies. If you can get a lateral, you're lucky, but if you get someone that's new to a profession, they can't do anything until they go to the state academy and then have field training. And right now, state academy is only offered like about 6 times a year, so it causes gaps in coverage. So those are the key things that are in a legislative agenda. I'll take questions on this, but please be prepared to make an advisory vote on this next month. Oh, Kelly, you're on mute.
Commissioners, are there any questions on this? All right, well, I would recommend that we all try and, as commissioners, study this over so that we're ready to act on this in our agenda for next month. And let's move on to our College Place Local Road Safety Plan by Mr. Rizzatello, please.
Okay, thank you. So with this local road safety plan, this is a new concept. So Washington, this is what actually I'd say classify as an unfunded mandate. So up until last year, you could go to grants from the state and not have a local road safety plan. Now you have to have one, otherwise they won't give you grants. Luckily, we were able to partner with the Metropolitan Planning Organization. We have a very talented intern, and then the Blue Zone Initiative, and we actually worked with all of them to make our own. So it basically goes over where the accident hot spots are. So you can scroll through it. I mean, page 8 has collision by injury severity. Page 9 goes over the crashes and injury year by year. Page 10 tends to go into the heat maps, which I find very interesting. So pretty much wherever the color is more yellow, that shows the intensity of the incidents, number of incidents. So a lot of them are areas that you would think have higher incidents. So Meadowbrook 125, 12th and Larch, Whitman and Larch, 12th in College, which I was a little surprised at, 4th in College, Majamier in College, SR 125 in College. And then you can see a breakdown on page 11 about what the cost per type of crash is. Page 12 shows where there were fatalities or serious injuries. The sad part with the WASDAV funding, it's sad that they rank things this way, but where you have an injury or a fatality, you actually, they prioritize money based on that. So if we put in for improvements at those key nodes, you stand a higher likelihood of getting funded. Page 13 has a heat map of just the total crashes. You can see the intersection by Walmart, that's bright red down there. So that's where our severity is at. And then page 14 goes into the types and the contributing factors. And then as you go further and further on, it just goes over more and more of the statistics. But I want to make sure you were aware of this. And if you hear references of it, what it's about, this is a requirement now to get grant funds. Otherwise, you're barred from getting DOT grant funds. Luckily, we were able to partner with folks and make this a reality. And I know this is being used as a boilerplate so that the MPO and Blue Zones with some of the smaller communities like Waitsburg and Prescott can basically use this, this as a framework to make similar ones. So that is the plan if you have any questions or comments.
All right, any questions? All right, let's move on. And let's go to our draft concept for Lions Park, the community center by Mr. Rosatello.
Thank you. So I'm trying to make sure this is in front of as many advisory boards as possible, just because normally with this sort of thing, and we'll still have time to do an extensive public process if we get the grant funds, but we had to turn something in so you could see what we were thinking of. So we quickly worked with Design West and some other architects on what something could be. And we worked with the Lions Club too, because we have an agreement with them to program it. So you can see attached is what we came up with. So it's a lot more of an open space, a little bit bigger than the current one, a lot more storage space, meeting room space, has a commercial kitchen. Page 3 is the boilerplate price tag of this, which is just shy of $3 million. The concept is I'm working on applying for federal EDA grant funds to go pay for this. And I'm couching the whole project as the Lions Park renovation project. And I'm actually trying to use all the other grants and our local match on the overarching Lions Park project to count as a match for this project. So that way we don't have to have a local match at all for this building. So that's the concept. I'm trying to basically write the grant where it's an overarching one for all Lions Park, but I'm using all the money we've gotten to date on other stuff as a match for this building. So hopefully we could get a free building.
Well, I, for one, really like the design of that. I think that looks very, very sharp, very contemporary, like it will fit right in. How much do we normally charge to rent that community center?
So Lions Club, they basically keep the money from them. They put in the renovations of the current building. They charge a very minuscule amount. It's basically around, I would have to look, I want to say it was like around like 20 an hour, and then there's like deposits on it, and then any of the money they collect from that they use to put into park renovations, and then they turn in a report to me annually on that.
I see. I see. So the reservations are made directly through them. They don't have to go through the city.
Correct.
I see. Okay. Any other questions on that? Okay, well, let's move on then to our community event update. Mr. Rizzatello?
Okay, I'll provide a little overview, and then Lisa, if you want to like help on this. So I just attached the image of what we're thinking of. So we basically can't do like the full-on fall festival like we've done in years past, but we are going to make an attempt at doing something that fits within the constraints of this time in COVID. So the idea is to do a trunk or treat on Friday, October 29th from 3 to 6. And Lisa, maybe if you could give some information on that.
Yeah, I'm currently working on getting the participation form set up. There's not going to be like a vendor fee or anything like that for this event. We're just going to pretty much have the traditional trunk or treat along the parking lot at College Avenue. And we're inviting and encouraging other organizations to set up a trunk as well. And then the different departments from the city will have a trunk for the kids to come through the parking lot. And unfortunately, we can't do the big activities and games and all of that we've done in the past, but we're trying to do something. Does anybody have any questions?
So does this mean that we're not doing the autumn? I don't even remember what we called it from what we talked about the last meeting, some type of an autumn festival.
Autumn on the Avenue,
Yes, yes.
that's still kind of tied into this, but we can't really do the whole big at the municipal campus, all the games and activities and all of that this year due to the COVID rates. So we do have banners coming for Autumn on the Avenue, and so we'll get those up provided that they get here in time. And
Was
then,
that the, I'm sorry, go ahead.
then it's just going to be a reduced day activity. So.
Okay, so that's not tied in with Trunk or Treat. That's two separate events.
Well, Autumn on the Avenue is more of a decorative kind of seasonal thing.
Okay, okay.
Where this is the one-day event.
I see. I see. Okay, so Trunk or Treat then means that people will bring their vehicles and open up the back and then give out candy to the trick-or-treaters from there. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions from our board members? Okay. Should we have some more community event updates, or is that the main one?
Lisa, has there been anything additional for Winterfest type stuff or?
Not really at this time. We're kind of waiting to see what happens with COVID as to what we can do. It's going to be hopefully some sort of in between from what the Public Works and First Responder Parade last year to what we've done normally. So at a minimum, it will be the Public Works and First Responders Parade. But hopefully we can at least do a lighted parade if we can't have a vendor event.
And
we'll
one
do fireworks.
Yeah, one thing I can say for sure is we were able to rescue the firework contract because, as you all recall, we weren't able to do the fireworks for Freedom Festival because of the excessive heat. And luckily, the vendor allowed us to reschedule it. So we will have fireworks regardless. And that would be the night we always have Winterfest, which is the first Thursday in December.
That's awesome. That's good to know. All right, well, if there are no comments on anything there, let's move on to our development tracking sheet by Mr. Rizzatello, please.
Hey, thank you. This goes over key projects going in through town, a lot of tire kickers, but a lot of delays still transpiring due to COVID, but there is some movement. So Project CK, they're still reviewing sites to go put something out on Myra. So gas station convenience store, the Project Chocolate, that's out for the Hop Thief area, but they continue to visit our area and try to negotiate an agreement. Project Dominic, this is a type of grocer. There is no update on that as of right now. Project HM, that is a business that does like night coffee type stuff, but they're still working through planning and so forth. So that's ongoing. That's for South College. Project FM, that's for property across from the high school. They're just awaiting the sewer being operational, the Southwest sewer, before they make the commitment. Page 5, the project BK, they have turned in the plans, so they are positioned to start groundbreaking on that. That is the Burger King, so that will happen. Project W, that's on hold. Project D, that is contingent on Myra Road being turned into basically the roundabout at SR 125 because we need the left turn lane on a commercial. So as soon as that happens, we'll get something. Project Flight, Martin Airfield, Tarragon has made a request for some overlay zoning to county commissioners, and I continue to be in dialogue with Tarragon and Corliss about what is going out there. That's going to be more of a longer term project. Page 7, Goodwill. The foundation's being poured. They're doing their thing. So that's on schedule. And Project Medical, that's another urgent care facility. And that would go over on Commercial Drive near the Honda dealership. Residential, the Homestead subdivision. We have plans submitted for the right size homes. So those are the little narrower affordable homes to the east of Dones. So we're evaluating those. Villages of Fort Walla Walla, there continues to be legal wrangling between the previous landowner and the developer. So I'm waiting to hear from that. Country Estates, they're just working through some edits on plans to get some of the manufactured housing in place. Sermon, we're waiting for the one plat to be turned in, but they'll deal with the apartments over by Wenzel Nursery. Stone Creek development, there continues to be discussions with a developer out of Spokane for Mr. Christensen's property, or continues to be movement on that. Handy up on top of the hill, the apartments to the west side of that property continue to be built, and it's ongoing. Project Wallula, which is cottage housing for developmentally disabled. That one's on hold because really a UGA needs to be tweaked. So they could buy that property off of Wallula and then they could run utilities to it. And then Whispering Creek, which is the development of Southeast 8th. Homes continue to be constructed over on Whispering Creek Lane over there. So that's a little synopsis of where development is in town.
All right. So I have a question, Mike, on the Project FM.
Yeah.
And the sewer. What is our target date for getting that sewer taken care of, all done?
So the target date for sewer right now, and I would just mention for anyone listening, and if you go on the website and go to the resident tab, and then under projects, there's a Southwest Wastewater trunk line tab. You click on that link and it'll take you to a project page. It has a video and everything on that project. We're trying to aim toward the end of the year. We're racing, I will say we're racing against some time right now because we did have to replace some stormwater infrastructure, which luckily was grant funded, but it turned out the part of College Avenue between Cedar Bend and Lamperty, I'll just say it wasn't compacted properly in the olden days when they built the road. So the whole thing was basically unstable. So we basically had to put in 3 feet of new fill and then repave the thing. So we're rushing to get that done before the asphalt plants close at Thanksgiving. So if we meet all of our deadlines, I'm hopeful end of the year. So that's the concept for Southwest Sewer, because but for reopening College Avenue, we are aiming for before Thanksgiving on that. We're just trying to scramble to get that thing stabilized so that way we can put the new paving material on it and we don't have any more issues with it eroding.
Okay, thank you for answering that. Do we have any other questions or comments on all of our development that we're working on here? All right. Then let's move, if there's no more comments or questions, let's move on to adjourn our meeting. And thank you very much, Mr. Rossetto, for the presentation, and Lisa also. And do I have a motion to adjourn our meeting?
So moved.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Tarbett. In a second.
Oh, Jenny, if you could turn on your volume.
I second.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Fuchs, and all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, and we'll see you all next month. Thank you so much.
Thank you.